Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Guns. Yeah, we're going to stick with the non-controversial subjects today. Over the past month and a half, I would say, the Toronto proper police have been experiencing a huge amount of gun violence. And it is sad. You don't want to see anybody die. But we have to look. What is the problem that allows this gun violence to continue? Well, first of all, we have to explain here at the Silverlight Show, we are not pro-gun. We are not anti-gun. We recognize certain occupations require you to carry a firearm. Being a policeman, we're not going to de-arm or defund the police. We understand farmers. Hey, there's vermin on the land. The only way you can get rid of them are guns. Hunters. How exactly are you going to hunt unless you have something to shoot with? Like, bow and arrow hunting is fine, but I've looked at it and I'm going to say gun hunting is probably a little less cruel than bow hunting. Sure, you can quote me all sorts of stats about how this bow can take down that buck at 500 yards and be just as good as a shotgun. But the truth is, for most people's skill level, a gun is better than a bow and arrow. Certain classes of intelligence and, even foreign diplomats may require that for whatever strange reason. So there is a reason why people should have guns. Even the fun of just shooting a couple rounds, pretending you're badass or whatever the hell you're doing, I get it. But then let's look at the actual tragedies. Aside from the various school shootings that went around recently, the NRA and similar pro-gun lobbyists, and you see they're pro-gun. They're not pro-people, they are pro-gun. They don't care about the people. They want to make sure they have access to guns. Personally, you don't control gun violence by handing out more guns. I don't control obesity by handing out free Big Macs. I don't control alcoholism by giving out free whiskey. But the NRA and similar institutions, and there are a few in Canada, insists that if we have more guns, then more people will have guns. Well, the United States is number one in terms of armed people in the world with guns. Canada, in terms of population, we're still in the top 10, with like 33 out of 100 having guns. Don't forget, it's not just Toronto, it's all of Canada. So let's look at the good man with a gun myth. This is its name. It's inherently, chauvinistic in the idea that, it will always be a man who's the hero, it won't be a woman. Let's leave that alone for just a second. So I've just established that Canada and the United States have the most weapons per person on the planet. Remember, there's 250 countries. They look at us as though we are some namby-pamby, limp-wristed bunch of people who think guns are evil, and we burn them like they did in that one episode of Family Guy. Well, it's not the case. The interesting case is, so here are all these people, armed, unarmed, whatever they might be. There's never that right man with the right gun at the right time. Not here, not in the United States, not anywhere. Why is that? Because the myth doesn't work. Silverlight used to serve in the military. He has seen an entire platoon of well-trained individuals freeze like deer in the headlights. It was in a situation we'd never seen before, but still, the entire platoon froze. If that's a platoon of soldiers, and the myth of a stupid soldier is a stupid myth, but if trained soldiers are going to stop and not do anything, do you think your random person who's packing away is going to be able to help you out when the actual shots start flying? or depending on the mall ninjas and the Saturday morning soldiers are gonna, you know, rip out their Call of Duty skills and suddenly become trained snipers. No, they're two different skills. Video games, real life, yes, one can kind of get you mentally prepared, but even the best people playing Madden, whatever the heck it is now, are not going to be able to step on the field and, throw a proper football. It will give you certain things. You'll be able to understand certain defenses. You'll have more of an idea of how to look down and check down than a random person off the street will. But guns are living, breathing things. They don't respond like a video game. And people don't respond like in a video game where you're perfectly rational and sane no matter what it is. Yes, there's movies like the John Wayne movies, the Clint Eastwood movies, Falling Down, where everything is stopped by the right man at the right time. I do say right man because those are all movies based around one man. Look at the time frame that they're set in. They're all from 30, almost 40 years ago now. Spectacular entertainment, yes. But the message is how ludicrous the situation is. That this one person could go on a one-man rampage and take out an entire city. Yeah, that doesn't work. We're in the year 2022. Things are different now. The reason these crimes are so perplexing is that the police aren't telling us very much about them. And to be honest, I think they're still trying to figure things out. Despite the fact it's 2022, some houses don't have security cameras of any sort, and even if they did, they're not obliged to give them over to the police. We have more speeding cameras, we have more surveillance of every single kind. But despite the Orwellian myth that extreme surveillance will lead to us getting extreme protection as well as extremely complacent, 1984 still hasn't come around. Let's dial it back from shooting somebody for a second. Okay, something so mundane. Let's try to make it as harmless as possible. So, not even stealing somebody's wallet. Let's make it as harmless as possible. Stealing a chocolate bar from a convenience store. We would all agree if this is the first time this person's doing it, they should get a slap on the wrist, a full jury trial. We all agree on that, right? Well, here's the thing. They can be the most despicable, heinous shooter. They can be walking around, getting into the cop's face where they have the camera, shooting that said cop in the face. God forbid that happens. And we still got to give them their due process. Because we are a society of laws. Whether we like those laws or not, they're here to protect us. And if, God forbid, the police got the wrong suspect, they would at least be allowed to plead their case. I know in my audience, at least one person out there listening has had that happen in their exact life. They were suspected of doing something brutally savage, which if you heard about your family member doing it, you wouldn't mind if the police, lost the keys and never find them again. And that because your best friend, your close person, whatever it is, they would have to spend some time earning your trust back. I happen to know this guy wasn't guilty. But because he got his due process, it was discovered the police made a mockery out of the evidence and they got the wrong person. Good news, he didn't spend much time in jail. Good news, they got the right person. Now imagine how much harder that is when you got the good man with the gun. He's seeing somebody shooting, but is he the only good man with a gun there? Odds are yes, but you can't tell that. And with a bunch of people, you can't tell if let's just say there's the gunman and two good men with a gun. So the second one pops up with his .357, ready to give his best dirty, hairy line. And the third guy pops up. All he knows there's been shooting, and he can see one guy who's holding a gun up. You see this domino effect that we just created, and it wasn't even an unbelievable one, aside from having two good men with guns at the situation. There's another objection that I thought was an interesting one, but it came from deep space, is what I'm going to tell you. And it's supposedly because the gangs can't sell drugs anymore, and marijuana specifically was mentioned, they had to turn to selling guns. Well, yes and no. You see, the gangs still do sell marijuana. One of the things I keep hearing is that the government produced stuff is not as strong. Can't verify that. I never liked really strong marijuana in my life. But the gangs still have their customers because their customers don't want. It's like me. I like to drink beer. If you give me light beer, I'm not going to want to drink that. I'm going to want to have a regular beer. And might not go as far as a gang member, but I'd probably figure out a way to brew it myself, just like I do. In gangs, okay, there's less profit on the marijuana front, but like I said, the market in Canada is pretty much saturated. And in the United States, with these school shootings, which one of those were gangland guns? Not many. The only reason I'm willing to admit that in Toronto is because they haven't caught the people yet. But we do all these things, guns for toys for tots, and cash buy-ins and stuff. If I found a gun first thing, I would call the police, say I found a gun in my backyard, please send somebody over. I'm inside, I have this many people with me, I have this, I have knives, and I have some paint I can throw at you, so just looking at what's around me. And when you get here, please knock, I will come out, everybody will come out, we'll wind up, we'll be patient. That's the way I would handle it. Because I'm a wimp? No, because the police. They have friends and buddies. And worse yet, that gun could have been planted, and if I don't call them, I'm going to go for a very bad time. I haven't gone night clubbing really since the 1990s, which dates me, doesn't it? But even back then, they were patting you down. I think they started to have the body scanners like you get at the airport, just the magnetic ones, so that when the bouncers let you in, they would, look through the thing and make sure that you didn't have anything metallic on you. But ultimately, if you step out in this world, if you take one step out of bed in the morning, even if you don't, you're taking a risk. We don't need better rules with guns, aside from updating. Like right now, there's ways that you can produce a miniature Gauss rifle, which uses magnetism to accelerate a small metal slug to hypervelocity speeds and shoot a target with that. Okay, technically it's not a gun because there's no explosive, there's no cap, and as long as you market it as not being intended for use on humans, it's legal. Oh yes, my fellow Canadians, did you not know about that? If you go out and buy pepper spray, and it's designed for use against other humans, you're the bad person. You're going to be the one that gets the assault charge if you choose to defend yourself with it. But if you go and get dog spray, exact same ingredients, exact same brand, everything except marketed against dogs, it's the exact same chemical. It's just marketed against dogs. All of a sudden, you're operating in self-defense in Canadian law. Yeah. Now, there's a few reasons to hate somebody out there. I've just never found a reason to hate somebody so much that I wanted to end their life. I mean, I got connections, and I know I read the law. I know there's a couple guns, you get your firearms acquisition certificate, you can get some pretty hefty firepower brought in. I just don't have a reason to do it. They always say they're coming for our guns. Well, I've been hearing that since the 90s. It's not happened. It's never going to happen. And like I said, it would be stupid because The people who say that are living in like Toronto. I don't think Kitchener people would say it. Montreal would say, the big cosmopolitan cities. Oh, we wish we'd get rid of the guns. And I'm in the same camp. I'm willing to hand over my little peacemaker. Sounds like a My Little Pony show. But I'm willing to hand it over to make sure that everybody else has theirs removed. If I lived in Tuktoyaktuk, where there's bears around and, having a gun is absolutely necessary for daily life, I would understand a person who has a different opinion. That's why officially on the book, Silverlight is neither pro-gun or anti-gun. We are just sitting here and saying we don't need guns in our present environment. I hope they nail these sons of guns who are going around and shooting people and taking lives, because nobody deserves to have their life ended. Maybe they do. I shouldn't say that. There are certain crimes I would understand where you would want to do something that vicious to somebody else. But this is not the time. And do you really want to go to jail? Are you willing to lose 20 to 25 years of your own life just to get rid of, Uncle Creepy? Yes, it'll feel good right now, but say 10 years into your prison sentence, it's not going to feel so good anymore when you're eating your toothpaste because you literally have nothing to eat. Now, people do get away with crime, and it's a sad, crying shame. But at the same token, we can't stop depending on society, at least not in this sense. I said before, we need our laws and regulations updated, and this is one of them. Like I said, we don't want the police being able to be too proactive, but the truth is, if they see it coming, they can kind of come and get you already. There's a lot of reasons the police can lock you up, including a preemptive psychological examination. It's not used very often, but it's possible. But you have to kind of tip the police off. This is one of the weaknesses in our system that we need to start thinking about. Proactive psychological help. Because you know what? Guns aren't working. And you know what? Even a good police officer with a gun stops a situation. That family now doesn't know where their aunt, their uncle, their daughter, their son, they don't know what happened. A gun never, ever makes people happy. It makes certain people happy and other people miserable. And that's why it's very controversial. But anyway, that's as much as I want to talk about guns at this moment. It's actually more than I wanted, but neither here nor there. We wish to thank you for joining us on the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to buy a book from the link down in the comments. And we hope you have a fantastic day.